Alright, hello everyone, and welcome now to Game 3, the final game in the best of 3 series between Cechi and Lucifer. This is a semi-final match, as I've mentioned a number of times, Undead versus Undead, and as Game 3 in a best of 3 suggests, we are all tied up at 1 game apiece. Now, Lucifer had gone for a Dreadlord as his opening hero in Game 2, and I don't know if that was just to be cute since he had a game to give, or if he really expected to win that fight. It really felt like Cechi knew exactly what to do in that fight, and all Cechi really had to do was get enough Crypt Fiends to try and protect his Frostworms. By getting a number of Crypt Fiends, he was able to ensnare down the Gargoyles, back away, and then ensnare another set, and all the while keeping his Frostworms alive. By keeping those Frostworms alive, he then was able to just deal out more damage, as Cechi now opens up with a traditional Death Knight. Meanwhile, Lucifer is going for a traditional Death Knight. Death Knight versus Death Knight here on Twisted Meadows. So far, Undead players and their builds, Crypt Fiend, or Crypt and Tomb of Relics. There is a graveyard down over here. Meanwhile, I believe we're going to be seeing the same thing, Tomb of Relics, Graveyard, Crypt. And I believe we're going to have perhaps 3 ghouls, maybe up to 5 ghouls trained up. And then also start seeing some Crypt Fiends being pushed out. Now, both of these players have a good idea or know exactly where the other opponent is based upon the scouting. You can see exactly that both Acolytes have made their way over and are now just going to continue to move along their merry way. Meanwhile, let's take a look at this. Death Knight is going to go ahead and pick up a Rod of Necromancy. It does cost 200 gold. This Death Knight pretty much going to be doing the same exact thing, as well as we are now out on the map. Lord Darkscythe going up against Baron Fellblade, and we do have some skeletal minions already out on the field. This was important. Lucifer and now trying to get trying to kill a pig, and will be able to use that corpse there to pick up some extra creeping units. So these skeletal warriors, wow, actually using a death coil. Not 100% sure I agree with that, but then again, you might as well be regenerating that mana if you're already maxed out. So that's exactly what we're seeing there, regenerating that mana. Meanwhile, the Death Knight, still sitting at level 1, does have 4 skeletal minions joining in on this fight, and we should be seeing, yes, 4 skeletal minions coming in from Lucifer. Lucifer comes back the other way. Cechi has 4, and we are going to be going into a bit of an engagement. Oh, there goes a skeletal minion, and a death coil misses, and some experience finally on the board for Cechi. This low hit point skeletal minion now backing off, and that's exactly what you want to see, as Cechi is using that skeletal minion and is able to get in one last hit before the others were able to get in those shots there. Oh, skeletal minion looks like it's going to get taken down there. So far, a little bit of missing damage. Skeletal minions now trying to charge in, and there they go. Is the skeletal minion perhaps going to give experience to Cechi? Yes, he does. And now even this skeletal minion here could get taken down. There it goes, as we do have 3 ghouls, and now transitioning into Crypt Fiends by Cechi. We are not getting any additional Crypt Fiends yet. Lucifer is currently halfway to tier 2. Meanwhile, Cechi is halfway to tier 2, as we are sitting on 23 over 30 supply compared to 20 over 20. A delay in the Ziggurat perhaps causing a bit of problems. Death Knight going after this Null Overseer creep camp. That 533 creep camp gonna get taken out pretty easily. Death Knight still charging in off over here, as the Null Warden will get taken down. And what is all that is left? The Null Overseer still charging off over here. The Null Overseer is engaging. My apologies, mouse slipped. Null Overseer just taking down this creep camp here. So what is Cechi's strategy? Cechi should be able to get to level 2 off of this creep camp because of the earlier skeletal minion. He is just building up his army. Meanwhile, Lucifer looks like he wants to try to force an engagement, but he is going to be a bit out of position. by forcing it. No, he's not going to force an engagement. He's actually just attempting to scout out this 3 o'clock position to make sure that an expansion has not been placed down. Not uncommon to see expansions here, as the Death Knight may try to go after this Ogre Magi. And yes, going after the Ogre Magi here, there is a skeletal minion, skeletal warriors, and you would normally think that you cannot creep out such a high level creep camp, but because of the Death Knight skeletal minions, he's actually able to do this fairly well. Gonna go ahead and summon another round of skeletal warriors, and the Death Knight's still engaging here as the skeletal minions are taking a bit of damage. Tome of Strength now on that Death Knight. Meanwhile, we see a bit of an engagement for Cechi. Cechi has a level 2 Death Knight, and he's going after some of these units behind here as a Scroll of Town Portal does land him in. Death Knight gets a Death Coil onto the Crypt Fiend there. However, this Crypt Fiend is taking a bit of damage. Is it going to be able to get away in time? You can see that some of the Acolytes and some of the Skeletal Minions are getting stuck in the backfield here. Lucifer being forced to defend his own base. Meanwhile, Cechi is trying to run away here, and there is also a low hit point Crypt Fiend. So who's going to come out together faster, as Lucifer does have another Crypt Fiend joining in on the fight. All right, so far, you can see that the Nerubian Tower is not really hitting anyone. There's a Death Coil saving one of Lucifer's low hit point ghouls, and all the units are now backing off again. Cechi doesn't like what he sees and decides to back away, since the reinforcements are coming in significantly faster for Lucifer. Lucifer, however, I do not believe he started his Lich yet. No, he has not started to train up his Lich at all. He is actually already 3/4 of the way to Black Citadel, in fact. Lich just now started, as this Lich should be able to get to, or should be very, very close to level 2. Going after the Ogre Warrior now. This Ogre Warrior going to take a lot of damage. There it goes, and now this Ogre Warrior perhaps going to fall as well. You can see that the Ogre Magi now making its way over. Tome of Intelligence. Is it going to be given to the Lich? Can't really tell. There's some Bloodlust as the Ogre Magi gonna get surrounded and taken out. Ring of Regeneration onto the Death Knight. That Ring of Regeneration gonna help the Death Knight tremendously, as the Death Knight is rather low, or has no real way of healing himself besides passively with Unholy Aura. The Lich now backing off over here. Perhaps is gonna join up and try to creep out the Goblin Laboratory, as we're looking at the Death Knight making its way over here. So far, the Death Knight of Lucifer sitting at level 3, as the Lich is now finally out in play. Meanwhile, Cechi has not really done that much with his much earlier Lich, just still sitting at level 1, but it is halfway to level 2. Coming off to the north here, we are going to try and creep out this Ogre Warrior Stone Golem creep, or Rock Golem creep camp. There it goes, and now we are just taking down these units. Orb of Corruption is in play, and all of a sudden, in come the units. Lucifer now trying to do a bit of an engagement here. You can see that the Crypt Fiends are attempting to engage. There is an Obsidian statue, as well as Cechi is in a little bit of trouble here. There's the Death Coil trying to save that Crypt Fiend, as the unit barely escapes there. You can see that the Crypt Fiend is already coming all the way back here, and the Death Knight with the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability from Lucifer doing a great job. Cechi having a very bad day. Lucifer's Lich still sitting at level 1. Meanwhile, Cechi's Lich now sitting at level 2, going after, as Cechi now hits level 3. Evening up the hero levels was a huge portion of this. Now getting on a level 3 Death Knight, and any advantage that Lucifer had was now quickly negated, as the Lich, now sitting at level 2, does have the significant hero advantage. 3-2 compared to 3-1. Frost Armor, or more importantly, Dark Ritual, allowing for much higher mana on this Lich, is the real reason why this Lich is so much more powerful than his opponent. 102 mana compared to, I believe, the 210 mana of this Lich. Is it going to be enough here? Where are we going to be going? Oh, there's the attack now. Mantle of Intelligence. Lich now sitting at level 2. And are we going to see an engagement? All right, Death Knight may be forced to use a Death Coil to heal this Lich. Cechi doesn't even bother with it, as he gets silenced. And where did the silence come from? I don't even see the silence. Is it a Staff of Silence? No, not there. Not there. Not quite sure how the silence came into play, but we can see that the Death Knight now sitting at level 3. Oh, there's a Dark Ranger. Duh. the Dark Ranger silenced the Death Knight, preventing a Death Coil. I was looking for a Dark Ranger, couldn't spot it, but now I see it is in fact there. Lich, nowhere, or Lich back over here, sitting at level 2, has an Orb of Corruption. That -5 armor now picks up a Dark Ranger for himself. Cechi with the Undead Tri-Hero, Dark Ranger as that third hero. Meanwhile, Lucifer already has it, as we are now going into some Obsidian statues. This time is now being used by Cechi. Cechi is looking to level up his heroes a bit further. You can see a Boots of Quel'Thalas, which may be given to the Dark Ranger, whose primary attribute is in fact agility. A very, very high agility heroes are generally high damage, but not this Dark Ranger, it would appear, as the Lich, now sitting at level 2, will get to level 3, and now with level 2 Frost Nova, could in fact deal a lot more damage. All right, Tome of Experience now on the Dark Ranger as well. That is all of a sudden a very big turn of events. 3-3-2 compared to 3-2-1. Where is the Lich? Lich is nowhere to be spotted. Lucifer's Dark Ranger will in fact get to level 2 here in just a moment. And there is that Lich just now getting resurrected. Orb of Corruption onto that Lich. Meanwhile, back over here, you can see that the Rock Golem taking a bit of damage. That -5 armor really taking its toll there, as we are seeing more and more units just fall to the wayside. There it goes. It looks as though skeletal minions have been added. Dark Arrow or Black Arrow, I think it's Black Arrow, has now been added for that Dark Ranger, as we're now moving off to the north. All right, the Death Knight are in position here. What are we going to be doing next? Is the Death Knight in position, and what is it going to do? Here is the fight now, as the Crypt Fiend up in the front. Death Coil tries to get it saved, saves his own unit there, as the Lich is currently silenced. All right, once that silence breaks, I'm assuming we will be seeing some Frost Nova. There's another Death Coil. Frost Nova a day late and $1 short, but the Crypt Fiend ends up getting, I think that was a Death Pact, not 100% sure. There's a Dark Ritual, as the Lich, sitting on 300 mana, still able to do a lot of damage. You can see the Abomination is there as well. You have your meat shields in the Abominations. You have your healing. You have your Tri-Hero, which is so incredibly powerful, as Cechi gonna creep out this red creep camp, and it looks as though Lucifer is gonna simply allow it, as he tries to go after his own red creep camp. All right, Dark Ranger, there is a huge silence there. The Forest Troll Warlord gonna get focused down rather quickly. There it goes, as what item was left behind? A Pendant of Mana, as that's going to be given to the Lich. Pendant of Mana onto a Lich, 640 mana on a Lich, but I don't even think that it will even be able to cap out that high at all. Level 2 on the Lich still. You can see more damage being dealt. The Lich using Frost Nova pretty sparingly, or pretty freely, excuse me, and able to take down more units whenever you use an ability or spell on creeps. That either means you are trying to creep it out extremely fast, or you don't care about the mana on your unit, and I can't believe that to be the case, as the Lich is rather low on mana right now, sitting at 152. Lucifer still doing a bit of creeping. Meanwhile, back over here, Cechi may be able to creepjack his opponent in just a moment. This could be a very, very random turn of events all of a sudden. And if this fight goes down, do we have Scrolls of Town Portal? Yes, we do. That's exactly what we're going to see used in just a moment, as Lucifer's unit was able to back off. All right. Cechi now coming off over here to the 3 or 4 o'clock position. Going to finish off this creep camp, as the Ogre Warrior and the Forest Troll Trappers are all that is left. The Ogre Magi was taken down much earlier, if you remember, as we are still unsure of what these players are trying to do. Both players, Destroyer, Cechi setting up an expansion down over here, and it is quickly going to get stopped. So Cechi trying to set up an expansion straight up under the nose of his opponent in a perhaps possible ninja expansion attempt is forced to cancel it there. Meanwhile, mana is still being added. The Dark Ranger, the Lich, now up to 400 mana, does have an Amulet of Spell Shield. And Cechi, did he sell those items? It may be that he just sold... No, the Lich off over here, 247. So I got the colors confused. Lucifer now being forced to use a Scroll of Town Portal to head back. Dark Ranger was able to pick back up the item, I believe. What item was it? Dark Ranger picks up a Belt of Giant Strength, so 800 hit points on that Dark Ranger. So Lucifer getting in some very good items with the Death Knight now sitting at level 4, as well as pretty much every major creep camp, save for the 2 at the very, very north end of the map, have been creeped out. You can see that this Ogre Warrior creep camp in process. Dark Ranger sitting at level 2, make it to level 3. Lich in the same boat as well. Lich wants to get to level 3. There, gets to level 3 once more, as we now see a Sobi mask on the Death Knight. Dark Ranger now at level 3. And this is looking extremely good for Lucifer. Meanwhile, Cechi is looking very strong as well. It's going to come down to execution. Who is able to execute and be able to take down their opponent much more quickly. Remember, there is also an amulet of spell shield on the Lich, so if the Lich gets Frost Nova'd, it will just absolutely absorb it. That may be the difference. One Frost Nova, one missed time not realizing Frost Nova could be the difference. We also have Rune Bracers on the Lich of Lucifer, so even trying to nuke down that hero is going to become very, very difficult. Dark Ranger, Lich, Death Knight attempting to take down this Altar of Darkness. Altar of Darkness very low on hit points. We still don't see any sort of Scroll of Town Portal coming back. Not quite sure what the Death Knight is waiting for, as Lucifer is sitting at level 4. Supply 60 over 70 compared to 69 over 70. Slightly better for Cechi, as we now see a Scroll of Town Portal finally come in. One Nerubian Tower is now down, as we are now going to be going into an engagement. There is a huge Frost Nova across multiple units, and it looks as though everything is just falling apart. I can't really tell who's winning this fight here, as everything is just taking so much damage. Trying to see the color of the units is absolutely nerve-wracking. The heroes, another Crypt Fiend gets taken down there, but I'm not quite sure whose it was, as a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability now used by Cechi. Cechi now needs to figure out how to stick around. The yellow Lich of Lucifer was now taken down, as the Death Knight may be in a little bit of trouble, as the Dark Ranger also goes. Alright, the Lich was saved again, and Cechi, even though he is fighting at his opponent's home field advantage location, is really winning out in this fight. You can take a look at this. I believe that is going to be GG. The Dark Ranger now sitting at level 4. Lucifer loses game number 3 after taking game 1. Cechi taking it all the way 2-1. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 3 and the semifinals of the Zotac Cup.